welcome to my channel. I'm Tiffany, your retired librarian turned homeschool mom. And in this video, we're going to look at something a little hard. So this is a short video by UNICEF about the children who were displaced by the war in Syria. Now, this is being filmed on December 30th of 2022. This one I'm reviewing was filmed a year ago. So in light of the issues in the Ukraine, we've kind of forgotten about Syria, which, again, there's still a war going on. I don't know if it's stabilized or what the heck's going on. And I'm sure it's not going to stay stabilized because, Russia was pumping up the regime they were trying to get rid of that started the civil war in the first place. And Russia's got its own problems right now and is probably going to be collapsing in the next, possibly by the end of 2023, Russia might be it's already a big mess. But moving on. So this is a hard video to watch. It's not that long. I'll double check how long it is. It's only about 5 minutes. I also looked at, I think I might have looked at this one. I looked at a couple videos on Syria that only were shot a year ago or so. But this is the main one that I was looking at from UNICEF. And it is stories from these children who, before the war started, they had really good lives. They went to school, they had friends, they played in the streets, there were markets. They had happy lives. And then the politicians made a mess. And they lost friends. They saw death everywhere. They had to leave home. They lost family members. They had to run away from their life because it was destroyed by bombs because of politicians. And why I'm sure that it's extremely complicated to these children, in their eyes, their world was completely destroyed and they don't understand why. They cannot understand what the heck happened. They miss their friends, they miss their home, they miss their school, their entire places where they had memories, and their childhood was destroyed, and their childhood was pretty much ended. I mean, they saw people with missing parts in the streets everywhere. They can't go to school. They end up in refugee camps, which are not fun, which are not safe often, and are not great places to be. And they're often, even if they're relocated, they're in a foreign country. They have to learn a new language. They're not part of the community, and they want to go home. I mean, that's what a lot of these children, they would do anything to go back home when it's safe, but their world is destroyed. And it's hard because some of these kids are young. I have a 3-year-old. To imagine having to have my world completely turned upside down, have bombs falling, and having to escape to another country where I didn't speak the language, I didn't have a home, with my small child, and destroy and uplift their world. These people were just like us. There was no difference. These children were just like ours. I mean, yes, there was probably a lot of politics going on, and I don't understand the oppression that was going on, but neither of these children, and a lot of these people, how much do a lot of us living far away from the cities pay attention to the politics unless it's directly affecting us? The vast majority of these people their world was just turned upside down, really all of a sudden. I mean, the Arab Spring happened pretty quick, though of course it'd been bubbling underneath the surface probably for years. I was overseas when the Arab Spring really started in Romania. But this is still ongoing, and these people are still displaced. They still have nowhere to go. Some of them talked about being on the boats and how the boats collapsed and how they were rescued. how they watched people drown and calling for help and they couldn't do anything. These are young children watching this. Their lives are forever changed. They are forever damaged by this. And just in this little 5-minute video, you really get to see the anguish of these children. They start out talking about the joy of their memories of Syria. And then they talk about what happened. And one of them said their grandmother hurt herself when they were trying to get away. And she's like, leave me here to die. And they're like, no, we live together, we die together. This was a 9-year-old saying this to her grandmother as their world collapsed. So these are young kids. These are, and it's horrific what they went through. And just the 5 minutes done by UNICEF, which is the United Nations Children's Fund. So these are their job is to help kids, and it sucks. But if you're looking at the history of Syria, you're really kind of looking at refugee crises. This is a good video to watch. Obviously, this is not really for the younger kids, unless you're really talking to them about this. There are certain ages like toddlerhood and like kindergartners. You're not even, I think, first grade, maybe second grade. I don't know. You know your kids. I probably wouldn't show this until kids were maybe at least until maybe 5th grade. I don't think they have the capacity fully to comprehend this. Heck, I don't think the kids talking has a full capacity to understand what the heck happened to them. I mean, they went through and are still going through a nightmare. And it's never ending right now. I mean, even if they're relocated and they start new lives, they're still in a foreign country. There's still racism. Yes, even in places like the Netherlands. Well, the Netherlands has its issues. Places like Sweden and Norway. Oh dear God, the racism. There's a lot of racism. There's a lot of refugee issues going on there, and anti-immigration issues going on there. So it's hard for these people to integrate. Plus, a lot of them are Islamic, and yeah, there's a lot of Islamic hate, and it's a mess. So this is this is a short, little over 5-minute video by UNICEF, done about a year ago. So dating this was by 2001. So again, stuff was going on during the COVID crisis. God, what a mess. And then imagine what's going on there. During COVID crisis, in cramped tents, often cold and wet, in horrible conditions. I took a class. I took some interesting undergraduate classes on social movements that included talking about what happens in some of those camps, including a class on the violence against women. So yeah, it's not fun, but it's a good introduction if you're from a credible source, if you're looking at the refugee crisis, if you're looking at kind of first-hand accounts of what's going on in Syria, if you're doing a unit on that, if you're kind of looking for some basic information. There's not a lot of, obviously, feature-length films, so because I'm doing kind of a history of looking at some of the Syrian history here, and history of the Middle East this month, this was one of the videos I chose to do, and yes, it was heartbreaking. Just the little 5 minutes that I watched was just heartbreaking. So it's a fantastic video. It's still heartbreaking. I really do recommend it for this subject, particularly since they're talking about children. Sorry, I have a cat problem here. Cat, Kendra. Sorry, scratching. She insists on being in here. But so that's really the end of this video. If you like what you see, be sure to check out the rest of the channel. I have another book called Lost and Found Cat that I'm doing this month, which I think is what's balancing this, my book review that's balancing this video, because that's kind of what I do when it comes to these things. I do a book and I do something media or film related. So that's where we're getting this Syria thing. So I And Lost and Found Cat was something that my daughter brought home from the library that I said, you know what, I like this. So check out that book. Check out the rest of the channel. I do books, I do films, sometimes I do stuff like this. Again, it depends on what I'm covering. I'm also doing a lot of book series this month, or not this month, this year in 2023. So I've done The Princess Diaries, The Notebooks of a Middle School Princess, Tamora Pierce's Song of the Lioness Quartet, her Immortals Quartet. We're covering the Guardians of Ga'Hoole, I believe, going on right now. I'm going back to Meg Cabot for another middle school series, and then I'm going back to Catherine Lasky, who's the author of the Guardians of Ga'Hoole, through the end of the year. So, and then the brief idea that the only thing I have marginally planned for 2024 is series-wise is Animorphs, which was brought up on a Reddit thing. So it's a Reddit book thing that I was looking at. It's like, okay, this looks interesting. But again, I'm also covering a bunch of other stuff, so be sure to check out my catalog. I also do some other stuff. I do some educational stuff. I do some travel stuff. That's thrown in here and there. So that's available. So like and subscribe, leave a positive comment if you have one, and check me out. Thank you.